Robert Wagstaff, the cryptic founder. He's that holographic old guy you help out after whooping the Celestial Champion. Oh, and he was also a playable character in Don't Starve Alone. But who exactly is this guy? Why is he the only non-returning, non-DLC character from the first game? Why does he have such a huge presence in DST's Celestial Path? Why does WX78 hate his guts? Well, today we're going to find out exactly who Robert Wagstaff is, and more importantly, what he wants. A spoiler warning, he's probably the most dangerous person in the story. We know both very little and quite a lot about this guy. As aforementioned, he was a playable character back in the first game, so we have a laundry list of quotes and interactions to sift through to help learn more about him, which is a luxury we didn't have for the Charlie video. On top of that, he has had several appearances in animated shorts all over the years, and even a few speaking roles in modern day DST. So how about we start from the beginning, or at least the ones that we know of. Robert Wagstaff, born way too long ago, is an eccentric inventor, scientist, peddler, conman, petty thief, and most importantly, fascinator of everything and anything Alter and Luna related. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. His first appearance to us was when he was added as a playable character in Don't Starve Alone around 2019, which, as you may know, was actually after the launch of Don't Starve Together by a few years. But hold on, I missed a little something. That may have been the first we've seen of Wagstaff, but it was far from the first time we've heard about him. That would have been 5 years before his release, where he was first mentioned in a forum post in 2013. The forum post mentions the PR-76, a radio, specifically this one, being made in 1919 by one Voxola radio company. The same company that was forced to declare bankruptcy after their factory was destroyed in a blaze, and the founder of Voxola, Robert Wagstaff, was declared missing. Missing? So how or why is he here with the rest of the survivors in Don't Starve Together? Kind of. Well, keep this bit of information in mind, we're going to come back to it. For now, let's look at his other appearances pre-dabbling with the Celestial Champion. His first chronological appearance in the entire story of DST is in his dedicated animated short, Projector. In this short, we can see a young-ish Robert Wagstaff driving around the streets of San Francisco in his beat-up excuse for a car, collecting/stealing all sorts of electrical and mechanical components. However, during his incursion, his attention is caught by a tremor from a nearby theatre. Wagstaff rushes inside to seemingly rescue any trapped survivors inside, but ultimately decides to run off with a projector that captured the entire event, leaving one such trapped victim to certain demise. When Wagstaff gets home, we can see that he has an entire basement filled with all sorts of film and camera related gadgets stacked high to the ceiling. Using this, he's able to find a projector suitable enough to play the film reel found in the camera from the theatre. The film reel seems bathed in shadow fire, and when played, presents Wagstaff with a projection of exactly what went down. The final performance Maxwell and Charlie took part in before they got taken into the Constant. After this, it seems the projector projected a scene of the Constant itself, which Wagstaff was able to project himself into. Go watch the animated shorts, by the way, they are pure cinema. So what can we learn from this animated short? Firstly, we know it's the earliest point in Wagstaff's involvement in the Don't Starve lore since A, his hair isn't fully grey yet, and B, the theatre was the host of the performance that predated and led to Maxwell's reign of the Constant, which we know from a moment in the Next of Kin animated short happens at around 1906. I'll do a full DST timeline video at some point since we practically know exactly when everything takes place, but that's not this video. We can also gauge from this short that this point in Wagstaff's life was probably his lowest point. His car is dilapidated and beat down, his basement was lined with most likely ill-gotten goods, and the most telling thing? I'm not sure if you noticed this during the animated short, but every single person Wagstaff helped, he stole from. The walking cane, the purse, the ring, all of it was stolen as a sleight of hand trick from every individual person he rescued. If you thought Wagstaff was a good guy for rescuing all those people, in light of the one he didn't, then I have bad news for you. He only did it for his own gains. But hang on, isn't Wagstaff the CEO and founder of Voxola? The company that made all those radios and had all those factories? Yes, he was. Or more accurately, he will be. Theory time. At this point in the story, Wagstaff found no proper success in life, resorting to petty thievery, hoarding garbage, and even time as a snake oil salesman. For those who don't know, somebody who tries to sell bogus cure-all medications to those desperately in need. Despite his life of petty crime, he still had a fascination with electronics, and probably spent most of his time reverse engineering existing technology, finding out how they worked and ultimately how to invent and create his own. Fueled by fencing stolen goods and knowledge gained from disassembly, and something else we'll get into soon, Wagstaff would later on go on to invent his own line of electronics, which would eventually blossom and bloom into what we know as Voxola, and its line of gramophones, radios, and even robots. He most likely showed off his inventions and pioneering in technology at the Brussels International Exposition in 1910. We know he was there since Wilson filmed over the tape featuring Wagstaff at this event, somehow for the Tales of the Constant Firewood animated short. This event was an important showcase of science, arts and all sorts, but was also known due to a fire that occurred during the event. DST has a thing for random, inconspicuous fires, doesn't it? Anyway, most likely after or even during he found success with his new company, he would then be seen in Weber's animated short, sporting a much fancier car, where a now much older Wagstaff is seen collaborating with Weber's dad, by delivering him a whole entire spider from the Constant. How did he get a spider from the Constant? This is one of very few moments in the story where something is seen being taken from the Constant, instead of being sent in there. Does this imply that Wagstaff, at this point in time, is able to move things to and from the Constant? Well, if we look back to WX78's animated short, we can see that, yes, most likely, kind of. In Wagstaff's workshop we can see all manners of creatures and animals used for all sorts of most likely horrible experimentations, as well as WX themselves. But that's not too important right now. What is important is that WX is sent, or went there on their own accord, to the Constant in the very same workshop. So Wagstaff somehow managed to conjure some form of travel to the Constant, and seeing how he managed to get a live spider from there, one back to reality as well. We can pin down that this happened after the events of the projector short, since Wagstaff, most likely, did not know of the Constant's existence until the incident with the film he recovered from the theatre. I almost put this event happening before then, since Wagstaff's hair looks more brown and isn't greying in WX's short, but then nothing else would add up, such as his access to a massive workshop, knowing the Constant's existence, and how if WX was sent before the projector short, it would have been most likely before Maxwell's reign, which is possible, but unlikely I'd say. Let's just say Wagstaff bought hair dye after his company's success. So, a quick brief timeline. In 1906, Wagstaff made off like a bandit with a certain magical film reel. Then, 4 years later, in 1910, he attended the Brussels International Exposition. Then, some time passed, he most likely found success with his company, did some research and development into constant travel, with the spider from Weber's short and the banishing of WX. After all of that, the final event that would occur in his timeline was the burning of the Voxola factory in 1919, and the same year he would vanish. But how about we talk about the events of his vanishing? Oh, if only we had footage of what went down during the exact fire. Oh wait, yeah we do, it's called Winona's animated short. In this animated short we can see exactly what caused the fire. A portal directly to the Constant. And who do we see Winona trying to rescue from the portal? Well, it's never explicitly said in the short or in game, but on a certain Klei artist Tumblr, we can see that it is indeed supposed to be Wagstaff, if you consider such sources to be canon. This raises questions. We'll get back to those, however. For now, we have the entire pre-vanishing timeline set out. Rags to riches, with the catalyst for all of this being the tape that he found that one fateful day. I think personally, Wagstaff's innovations and breakthroughs in science and engineering was all thanks to this discovery of the Constant, thanks to that special tape. He was able to project himself there, and in a safe-ish environment, able to study the Constant in its primitive state. The clockworks and ancient machineries left by the ancient civilizations, And heck, even possibly all the machines you can find overgrown in Hamlet. He would use this knowledge he found in this new reality to invent his radios, gramophones, teleportation technology and all sorts, all without having to step a foot into the constant himself. And somehow, eventually, even his technology itself appeared in the constant, like his radio and gramophone. Were these his exact designs, or were they conjured by the Shadows or Maxwell as a parody of what he made in the real world? Or maybe Wagstaff stole them directly from the Shadows. But studying them wasn't enough. Being able to research the technology the ancients used was good, but he could go further. Their methods were grand, but the reagents they used for all sorts of greatness was one that Wagstaff could never get his hands on: nightmare fuel, and by extension, fuel sight. Or heck, it could even be as something as simple as the electrical doodads. Simple diodes made out of rocks and gold which are used in every one of Wagstaff's crafts, and even found in his cash boxes everywhere when playing as Winona. We look at Wagstaff's quotes for these things, we can see that he has a massive fascination with the stuff, so much so that he himself wished he could take them back to the real world with him. So that's exactly what he did. Throughout the years, around 15 of them, he would work in secret in his laboratories and factories, trying to discover a way to transfer materials to and from the constant. So far he could only project himself in there, but if he was able to find a way to take stuff out, it would become a marvel of engineering, just what their latest line of technology would need. All of this is conjecture at this point, since we've never been shown or told anything, but I bet Wagstaff was able to figure it out. I believe he was able to take items from the constant into the real world, like he did with the spider seen in Weber's short. He probably found a way to take fuel sight for his clockworks, and possibly even nightmare fuel to power his machines. Possibly even the exact stuff he used to make his latest models of radios the best they could be. I mean, how else is Maxwell able to manipulate the exact same Voxola models each and every time he took somebody into the constant? Probably because those devices themselves were made using constant secrets and materials. As for the automaton, WX-78, I feel they were originally designed as a method to interface directly with the constant. Wagstaff most likely knew the risks of entering the constant directly, and possibly saw constructing an automaton as a pseudo diving suit. Also, I just want to point out, in this exact frame you can see that WX is indeed working on the same portal seen in Winona's short. Heck, I'd even wager the whole study into robotics wasn't Wagstaff's idea to begin with, and was more so spearheaded by WX and their fascination with transhumanism. Sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked there. So we have Robert Wagstaff studying and somehow interfacing with the constant, using the knowledge held therein as well as the materials found without to help spearhead his company into a roaring success. But we're forgetting the whole disappearing act. Earlier I mentioned that Wagstaff was, according to a Klei artist Tumblr, sucked into the constant during Winona's short. But hold on for a moment. Wagstaff is still a projection in DST. Heck, he was still a projection in solo Don't Starve too. And apparently that game takes place after his disappearance in 1919. And we even possibly see him outside of the constant during Wilson's second animated short, turning the radio off. So did he actually get taken to the constant in Winona's animated short, or was that somebody else? The entire continuity of this point rests on a single Tumblr post. It's never alluded to again that Wagstaff was the one getting taken in the animated short, but all signs point to him not being taken. So here's a theory for you all. That was indeed Wagstaff getting taken. He was just able to find a way out. Now hold on there, Ash. Find a way out? Nobody's been able to find a way out. Not even Maxwell. Well, you're correct. But this is Robert Wagstaff we're talking about. The guy that was able to study the constant from the safety of his lab, and the guy that was able to somehow take things from the constant, and even construct his own portals. I think it's a safe assessment to make that he was able to leave after being taken there. And I think I know exactly where he left from. The Moon Key. Oh yes, that big interdimensional energy we see on the Moon Key, the scrap we see lining the ground everywhere, was all from the portal Wagstaff made to travel back home after being sucked into the constant. I mean, let's look at the animated short. Look at the portal before it is destroyed. It is the exact same one found in the Voxola factory. The exact same one he allegedly fell into. Sure, in the Moonkey animated short we see him sailing away from the portal before it blows up, but take notice that is indeed a hologram, so he's projecting himself once more. It's possible that this is the exact same portal Wagstaff was using to travel to and from the Constant and collect his materials, as well as live spider samples. Also, another detail to notice, Winona doesn't get sucked into the same portal Wagstaff gets sucked into. She is instead snatched directly by Charlie, so that's why she probably didn't end up at the other side of the Moonkey portal. But Ash, the portal in the real world was destroyed by a fire. What good would the portal do in the Constant if it had no linking destination? Great question. I am unsure. My main answer for that is simply, he had other portals elsewhere, like a personal laboratory and other ones hidden in the Constant, and he's able to switch the destinations between them. Somehow. Sure, a lazy reasoning, but it could work. If he could build one portal, he could absolutely build a second one. I also need to mention this. In certain animated shorts for DST, we can see that Wagstaff is a hologram, like he is in-game. But also, in certain other animated shorts, we can see that he is not a hologram. A lot of people chalk this up to a continuity error on Klei's part, but I don't think they would forget something that big. Those times we see non-holographic Wagstaff are the time he's actually travelled from the real world into the Constant, and the times we see him as a hologram are times when he's back in the real world. So we've established that Wagstaff is able to create ways to travel to and from the Constant. We know who he is and how he got here, but we never answered what he wanted with this place. You'd think he'd already got what he wanted with his own company, product line and everything. But why return here? Why hide in secrecy for so long? Why let your company fall off completely? And more importantly, what do you want with the moon? Wagstaff has seen what the shadows were capable of, how dangerous and volatile they could be. But now, there's this entirely new power source, almost untapped in the Constant, save for dabbling found in the Lunar Archive. Wagstaff knows something about Alter that we don't. All of his quests we do for him involve capturing its energy in some form or another. He wants all of this energy. And for what? Money? Power? Powerful money? Wagstaff is shown to be a greedy, inconsiderate man. Heck, he's literally got ways to possibly travel to and from the Constant, yet refuses to offer any form of passage to the survivors, and just uses them for his own selfish gain. At least with Charlie, we know what she wants to do. But Wagstaff? I'm honestly terrified of this old man. He's collecting all of this lunar power in secret for something. And this old man has ways of transferring things out of this place. What can we expect him to do once he gets any form of lunar magic out into the real world? We already saw what the shadow magics were capable of, but the lunar magic seem way more dangerous. It's capable of reviving the dead, and even what mankind have been looking for the longest time. Perpetual power. Free electricity. Why do you think Wagstaff wants one of those crown shards? Only time will tell, I'm afraid. The devil you don't know is way more terrifying than the devil you do. I worry that this man wants to sell this power to the highest bidder, or even use it as a weapon for his own gains. I mean, all of this takes place in the 1920s. The political climate wasn't the most relaxed it could be, and tensions were high hot off the heels of the First World War. Am I saying Wagstaff aims to be a war criminal? I mean, I'm not saying he's not, but maybe he just wants to revolutionize the power industry and create a monopoly by creating huge battery farms of enlightened shards powered by generators. The one thing more evil than weapons? Capitalism. But hey, that's just a theory. A DST theory. Why am I doing this bit again? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little headcanon theory on who Wagstaff is and roughly what he wants. Let me know if you guys have any theories yourself, or any holes that may throw my theory wide open. There are still questions that remain unanswered, and the ambiguity of was that Wagstaff in Winona's animated short is still high up in the sky. And don't even get me started on time travel theories. Take care everybody, I'm going to go work on a video about my favourite skins. Goodbye.